And Doraemon's cult now, bro. Like,
Doraemon's cult.
We are adults who mimic the voice and...
Yeah. Shin-chan also was, created a lot of controversy at that time because of the irreverence in the show. I remember we had these angry letters from parents. I think if you enjoy what you do, then your work and your life can merge and integrate in ways that you don't need to segregate them from each other.
Correct.
You know? I've never really understood that work-life balance thing where it shouldn't be that your work is not part of your life and your life is not part of your work. They're the same thing.
Yeah.
क्या आपको पता था इंडिया की 5 ऐसी फिल्में जो ऑस्कर नॉमिनेटेड थी उनमें इनका हाथ था either he was in the marketing, distribution or production or producing involvement in all of these films. Well, हम लोग Mashable Mornings पे लेके आए एक और एपिसोड ये कूल सी वाइबी ऑफिस में जो कि है कोवर्क्स इन इक्विनॉक्स टॉवर्स एट BKC. I really love this space because it has that vibe. But Roy Kapur Films की vibe क्या है? What drives Sid Roy Kapur to produce the kind of cinema he does? Yeah, how does he take our films to the world stage? Because Aranyak या ये बैले जैसी latest उनकी productions मुझे बहुत excite करती हैं because they're truly putting Indian stories out there. But I'm sure there must be days when he's down, when he's struggled, when he's at team meetings where he's had to take some tough calls. And that is what we try to discover at Mashable Mornings and understand how these amazing entrepreneurs are putting India on the world stage. So here we are at Coworks. Let's go to Roy Kapur Films and see what the vibe is over there.
Good morning. Welcome to Mashable Morning, Sid. How are you?
Very well, Sid.
So, we are presented by Coworks and they have a nice flask for you.
Oh, how sweet. Thank you.
It has a black coffee that you like.
Wonderful.
है ना?
Thank you.
Very caring and like protective of our bosses.
Thank you, Coworks.
So here we are on Mashable Mornings. पहली चीज पहले confirm कर लेता हूँ. Do you have a Mashable morning routine or do you have a morning routine?
I do actually have a morning routine. I'm quite a creature of habit, I have to say.
Yeah?
Yeah. So I wake up around 6:30. I head out for a walk. Do around 1 hour.
ऐसा कब कितने साल से रहा है लेकिन?
It's been on for a while.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's very good, yeah?
So I make sure that 1 hour is without any devices at all.
Okay.
Just my phone in my pocket on silent.
Very good.
And no music either. So
wow.
More than just the exercise, I think it's just being able to get all the static out of your mind and being able to let your mind just roam aimlessly onto random thoughts, which is lovely. It's great because a lot of things that you've been grappling with, problems, you get solutions. It's lovely.
Yeah.
So I do that, get back by around 8, have my tea and papers. I'm quite a old school guy that way. I need that physical newsprint in my hand every morning.
And is it one newsprint or the orange and the white?
It's
and
pretty
everything?
much all the orange,
Oh,
the
really?
white, the works.
Wow.
So that with endless cups of tea, but black tea with lime.
Oh, nice.
And then head in for a bath and then get to work. So yeah,
sweet.
A little bit of a regimented morning, I have to say. Especially, I think in the volatile industry like the media, it helps to have some things that are constant.
100%.
Yeah.
And is that a routine that follows through into your work day also? कि भाई आप पूरे calendar में 3 चीजें हटा के रख रहे हो?
I think the work day tends to be a little more random, which is in a good way. You know, I mean, it's random because it needs to be random because some days could be narrations, some days could be meetings with directors, with writers, with studios, with platforms. You're watching the rough cut of a film one day, you're discussing the rough cut of a series the next. So that's the fun part of the job, right? The fact that it is so random and so sort of unexpected.
Nice.
And a crisis a day is generally the thumb rule. So
So चलो थोड़ा सा पीछे चलते हैं. As of today, I learned that you were also in your dramatics and theatrical, class, or were you also contributing in bigger manners in that group?
So I've been on stage since I was literally 4 or 5 years old. And
really?
Sort of, I never got off it. I'd be in every school play every year. I just love being on stage. Yeah, I acted.
Oh, wow.
And of course, things like elocutions and singing and all that, all through school. So the performing arts was very big in my life.
Nice.
All along. And when I was in college, I was in the Dramatic Society in Sydenham. Sydenham tended to have a really great extracurricular,
Correct.
thing going on at that point of time. I'm sure it's still there.
Before
Hopefully
they took
it
the
is.
extracurriculars to outside of the college.
To outside of the college, yeah. We won't go there. But we had
सारी मुंबई वाली पब्लिक समझ गए तो कमेंट में बताओ अच्छी चीजें अपने कॉलेज के बारे में.
No, it was great. I mean, Sydenham was a really great experience.
Yeah,
we had an auditorium there that was used extensively. We put on a slate of productions every year.
Nice.
We raised sponsorships for it. It was like running your mini production house.
You remember those sponsorships, no?
I do.
I mean, you remember them as the first supporters in a match.
I do actually, and it was like, like I said, it was almost like running your own production house with a slate of productions every year. You wanted to do one comedy and one drama and one thriller, and so you'd audition directors, figure out who's best for the job.
Oh, sweet.
put
तो
a
आप ही
slate
कर चुके
together.
थे बचपन में.
In a sense, it was almost a microcosm of what one does today, which is why
Yeah.
I think Sydenham was so formative in my life in that sense.
So cool. So then tell me this. So how does P&G happen? Because Procter & Gamble is a big company, bro. Like,
Yeah, so I did my MBA at the Jamnalal Bajaj Institute, which is also in Churchgate. So 5 years of Sydenham, did my BCom there, then went to Bajaj, did my MBA there, and I did a summer internship at P&G because
Acha.
between the first and second year you
Have to.
and then I was made an offer to join them full time, which I did. So those were the days when, if you wanted to get into media in any structured way, there was no way to do it. They wouldn't really be coming to campus. I remember when I was at Bajaj, which was 95 to 97, we literally had no media companies coming to campus.
yeah, they don't. I mean, in my time also.
Yeah. Well,
that
yeah,
wasn't
your
a thing.
time, your vintage is much less vintage
Yeah,
than my
2010,
vintage.
13 तक भी लोग नहीं आ रहे थे मीडिया वालों को लेने के लिए.
So that's the thing. I mean, media was always what I wanted to be doing, but it wasn't really an option
Yeah.
at our time. And so P&G happened, great company, worked on Vicks and Ariel. But I think at the end of those 2 years, I sort of figured that consumer products wasn't for me. I really wanted to be involved in the media in some way.
Which is fair.
And
But
so,
you're learning something there, right? What is
you
the
are.
key learning?
Wonderful. I think just the rigor that goes into planning in a company like that. And a lot of people think marketing is a very easy thing to do. You put up a few hoardings, the amount of research that went into it at Procter,
Yeah.
the sort of, finessed marketing models they had for pretty much everything, the importance that's given to every aspect of, communication when it comes to brand management. Just that rigor of communication, the way to communicate, the way to put your message out there. I think I learned a lot of that from P&G.
So what was the workspace vibe like that, like at that time?
It was a little regimented, I have to say. There used to be this thing about something called a copy comment organizer.
Okay.
Which is when you talk to an agency, the way that you're supposed to organize your thoughts and comment.
Oh.
So I would have thought that they'd like things to be more instinctive. I'm sure it's changed today.
Anji.
But at that time, it was like, first talk about all the things you liked about the ad. Then talk about the things that are development areas. And then sum it up. So by then, all the joy is pretty much taken out of the process by the end of that. And the agency also is having these little smirks at your expense.
Yeah.
Because you're what they used to call proctoids. You're a proctoid who's mouthing these robotic lines about what you've liked and what you haven't liked.
No, I'm also trying to understand how was the office space like, because is it very like box structure? Because today's office spaces are very, very different.
It used to be. So cubicles, then of course the bosses would have larger rooms, and you pretty much would. Yeah, it was a regimented space in that
Sweet.
sense.
So then you're moving, but you're also moving countries. So then how does the movement happen? Like,
so I moved to Star TV in 99, which was a very interesting time because that's when, Star Plus at that time had to be half Hindi and half English.
Correct.
As per an agreement that they had with Z.
Yeah.
And that's the time that the agreement had ended, and now they could be a full-fledged Hindi language channel. So you had stalwarts like Peter, Sameer, Raj Nayak, Sumo, who was my boss, Shumantro. All wonderful, really, really smart bunch of people who were now responsible to take Star Plus to the next level. We literally had 3 shows in the top 50 at that time. There was Saas, Kora Kagaz and Tutu Meme.
All very, very cool shows.
All very cool shows, but only 3 in the top 50. And now the
like
idea
that,
really was to take it to the next level. And I was lucky enough to be a small part, I was very junior at that point of time, of the team that actually launched Kaun Banega Karodpati and Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi and all that. So it was great to be a small part of that experience where you saw the excitement in the office when Sameer Nair had actually managed to come back from Jalsa and convince Mr. Bachchan to be a part of KBC.
Yeah.
Very, very exciting times.
So do you remember that meeting? How difficult is it to like, or how easy was it to do that?
I was too junior to be a part of that meeting.
Achha,
but
okay.
I heard the legends of the meeting after.
Of course, वो ऐसी meeting होती हैं.
Peter and Sameer had, and Sameer really drove that process forward.
Okay.
Obviously there was so much skepticism about the biggest star of the country in his mind. He must have thought it's a huge step down to come onto television. And at that time, television was not the television of today. But I think Sameer managed to convince him that this would be the great next step in his career, a great phasing into the next phase of his life.
Yeah.
And they actually made a trip to London to the sets of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Of course.
And saw the way that Regis Philbin did it and the format.
Yeah.
And I think there was a commitment that Sameer made to Mr. Bachchan that it will be done in exactly the same way with the same finesse, sophistication.
Sweet.
And all that.
So cool.
Yeah. And I think Mr. Bachchan's, every episode that you watch, he's almost got exactly the same level of energy he had in that first one. I don't know how he does it.
And quirk also.
Yeah.
So much wittiness, so much like just comedy.
Incredible.
मैं ना ये मानता हूँ सर कि like you're the average of 5 friends that you hang with. I think as a boss or a manager, you're the average of 5 managers or bosses you've had. Would you say so?
I'd say so. I think bosses influence you in different ways. Some show you things you should never be doing, and some show you things that you want to emulate. And I think, like you said, the aggregation of that across your career, where there are things that you make note of as, I never want to be that person, or I definitely want to emulate that, is what makes you
that happens,
a better
no?
manager. Yeah.
Because that thing you just pointed out, that I don't want to be that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's an average of 5 that you don't want to be.
Exactly.
There's an average of 5 that you want.
And those are as important as the 5 that you do want to be, because there are lots of behaviors which are blind spots in yourself.
Correct.
But when you see them in someone else, you realize, what that can do to a team.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to be that self-aware.
So then you must have moved to having a team of your own. I mean, that is a big moment in a person's career when you're given a team.
Yes.
So what was that moment like when that is happening?
It was interesting because it happened early in my career when I was quite young.
Okay.
And I had people who were reporting into me who were older.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some much older. And that was interesting because you could sense and rightly so, the resentment about what does this young kid know? He's suddenly supposed to be our boss. And I think you have to approach that with some empathy, because it's important to understand that these are human beings, and sure, you need to prove your chops to them as much as they have to prove theirs to you.
Yeah.
Because you can't ask for authority without showing them that you deserve it too. So I think I did realize that early on, that it was important for people to understand why I was their reporting manager, and without going above and beyond, because there's no point trying to be defensive about it. But it's important for people to see that, yes, there's something about this person that makes it relevant for them to be my boss.
But tell me this, you're moving then internationally and you start working in Dubai.
Yeah.
How difficult or easy is it, and how is the market?
So I first moved to Hong Kong briefly.
Oh yeah?
Where I did around 3 or 4 months, came back for KBC. I was part of this News Corp Executive Development Program, which was an interesting program for younger executives where they send you to different countries to get an experience. So I then moved to the Middle East, and that's where I first got a team, etc. I was around 25, I think, and I was marketing manager for the Middle East at that point.
Oh, that's big.
And which was great. But of course, it was a much smaller operation than it is today, and more a sales and distribution organization than any content production. But that was interesting because it was a new market altogether, and a new role, and a new bunch of people. So it takes a little while to ease into it. But and then I moved back to Hong Kong for around 4 years with Star.
Oh, so tell me this: how similar or different is the Middle East market to us? Because I have found many similarities.
Yeah.
And you find,
I think
so
to start
many
with, there's so many South Asians in the Middle East, right? Indians, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, Sri Lankans, like
Nepalis, everybody's there. Yeah.
So in that sense, it's not very different. In terms of the work culture, the kind of people you're hanging with, etc. But I think there is a little bit of that sense of these are all people in transit. Like everyone there feels like they're in transit in their lives to some extent. That this is they're on their way to a destination. Rather than settled. That's not a feeling I enjoyed, to be honest.
Huh?
I did feel like I was in exile most of the time that I was out of the country. Just the whole feeling of waking up in the morning and wanting to go onto timesofindia.com at that time and see what's going on in India.
Yeah.
And after a while you tell yourself, okay, I'm doing this, so why am I just not back in India? What is the point of, if you're living vicariously through wanting to know everything that's going on in your country,
might as well move.
Might as well move back.
But Dubai ka star office, what was the vibe like over there?
So it's really strange. I did a summer internship at UTV back in 94.
Oh, you done something with UTV?
I had done something at UTV then. That was between my second year BCom and my third year BCom.
Oh, nice.
And I was a mule carrying a tape of India Business Week from because India Business Week used to air on Sundays, but it used to only be ready by Friday night. So every Friday night, someone would fly with the digibetas, would fly to Hong Kong.
Oh wow!
Deliver them to the Star office
in Hong Kong.
In Hong Kong, late on Friday night, early Saturday morning, and so that it could air on Sunday. That's literally how it happened. And so, as a perk of the end of my internship, I was given the task to be a mule. I was all of 19, I think. And
it's a great perk.
It is a great perk, I have to say. I'll never forget a colleague who will remain unnamed. I asked him where I should live in Hong Kong and he said, go and live at this place called Chungking Mansion. And Chungking Mansion, if anyone knows, is one of the most interesting but the most decrepit place to go to, where all kinds of shenanigans are going on.
Of course.
So I went and lived at a place called Blue Lagoon Hostel there, which the name says it all. But anyway, I shall not name who did that to me. He had a good laugh about it later.
But there's always somebody who will tell you to go and live in Paharganj when you've not been to Delhi.
Exactly.
So, like,
so that's the equivalent. So Chungking is the
which is why I did it for the audiences.
But I remember going straight from the airport to the Star office and being wowed by this amazing office, harbourfront, Hung Hom Bay, Hong Kong, and being like, one day I'll work here. And lo and behold, around, how long was it? Around 10 years later, I was working there.
Did you have like a corner office overlooking the bay and web?
I did actually.
Of course.
I did. It was quite lovely. It was really, really lovely. So great office there.
Yeah. Then you moved back to India.
Then I moved back to India. So I'd stayed in touch with Ronnie Screwvala through the years because I'd done my summer internship at UTV and I actually knew him from even before then, more as someone that I wanted to emulate because he was from the same part of town as I was and he'd been able to merge his creative and commercial worlds in a sense where he started off in theatre and then went on to start a production house and was doing all this interesting work. And he said that, he was looking for someone to come in and head up the marketing, sort of department at UTV because UTV was just scaling up as a studio and becoming a full-fledged movie studio and the kids channel Hungama TV had launched. And so he said, would you want to come back? And I was literally on the next flight back to India from Hong Kong because that's exactly what I'd wanted to be doing from the start of my career. And I remember we were going to be releasing Parinita within 2 months of the time that I arrived, within a month actually. And Rang De Basanti had just finished shooting. So that's the period that I'm talking about. Very, very exciting.
But Rang De Basanti must have been an interesting release because in the current scenario it wouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, you could actually have a film that dealt with issues that were that political. And still not. I mean, of course, we did have a few issues with regard to the depiction of the armed forces. And we had to do screenings for senior members of the armed forces, but to their credit, they allowed the film to release.
I think that was incredible.
It was incredible. And that's the film that actually showed me the power of cinema where now you do this all the time, but at that time it was quite unique where we had the cast and crew of the film travel across cities and do city visits. When the film had just released on the opening weekend. And as the end credits were rolling, we'd come through from the back and sort of talk to the audience. And just to see the reactions that people had to the film, I mean, incredibly visceral. You had people breaking down, you had people, and to feel that something that you were involved in has now gone out there and is having this impact on people was an incredible feeling.
100%. I have grown up at the time when you're building Hungama. And we are Cartoon Network and, Nickelodeon for the kinds who had the, Nick understanding. Or the English know-how. And then you're building Hungama and making it number one. For me, that's a great uphill task to kind of take in.
So I think working with Zarina on doing that was an incredible experience because she was really inspirational as a leader. And, you know, we literally did it with a few shows. Sanya, Doraemon, Shin-Chan.
Yeah.
You know, these were the shows that helped us do it. But, I mean, just innovating all the time. We did a thing called the Hungama-thon, which was like a marathon for kids.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff. And we just do... The spirit of entrepreneurship was so infectious. And Ronnie and Zarina's ability to just tell you to do something and run with it.
Yeah.
And take the call. It might fail, it might work, whatever. Just keep doing something new all the time. It was really incredible. So yes, I think to take on the entrenched international channels at that time and get this scrappy young Indian channel to get to number one was very exhilarating.
And Doraemon's cult now, bro. Like,
Doraemon's cult.
Yeah. There are adults who mimic the voice and...
Yeah. Shin-Chan also was, I mean, created a lot of controversy at that time because of the irreverence in the show. I remember we had these angry letters from parents.
Yeah, 100%. There were some adults writing that content with some trippy dialogues, which had innuendo, which was beyond control.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, it's just a naughty
What's
boy.
the fun if you're not pushing the boundaries?
But so then Hungama पे pinnacle touch कर लिया था ना आप लोगों ने?
Yes.
How hard is it to move on from that kind of success?
No, it lasted quite a while.
Yeah?
And that's when Disney actually took a stake in Hungama. Because I think that's the start of the relationship that Disney had with the UTV group was when they took a 14% stake in Hungama TV.
Okay.
And to us, it was a wonderful message that the number one kids entertainment company in the world believes that there's something that you're doing that they can benefit from. So that was a great, moment, I think, for the whole team at UTV.
So you worked in offices which were in Andheri East and Lower Parel?
And Lower Parel, Vikhroli with Procter & Gamble.
Yeah. Vikhroli had offices that time?
Vikhroli had offices in the Godrej Soaps compound.
Ah, okay.
So the smell of soap was all-encompassing. And where else? Then Masterpiece. Star was in Andheri East. This building called Masterpiece. Mahalakshmi with Procter & Gamble as well. UTV used to have an office in Poonam Chambers in the basement. Which
really?
This was back in the 90s. Which used to get flooded in the rainy season.
Oh, damn. so basically, I'll tell you why the office question. I was just sitting out of co-works. And when you see offices today, there's like this pink decor. There's sexy, cool lights around. There is so much in the office that is just not believable for somebody who began his career back in the day.
Yes.
1 second. We're just going to pay the FASTag. It may be hot, huh?
It's good coffee, yeah.
Good, na?
Yeah.
So then I was talking to you about how cool office spaces have become, right? And you come back to India and sometimes you have these old school cubicle and like
it can make a massive difference just to the general atmosphere. Especially if you're in a business where you want people to be creative, to be thinking laterally, you can't confine them to cubicles like everyone did in the past. You just can't do that.
So are you somebody, because I just for the background to these people, मैं इनके ऑफिस गया था ऊपर और ऐसा एक थोड़ा open structure है, खुला है. You know, that changes a lot, no?
It does change a lot. It does. Just having some sunlight in there, having some greenery around, having people be able to just get together in a common area, not having them siloed from each other. Very, very important. Really crucial.
So then we were at the stage where you moved from actually acquired by Disney.
Yeah, so we first there was first a time when Disney took a stake in UTV, and then they kept sort of inching up in their stake as they kept feeling better and better about the company and wanted to be more involved. And in a sense, there came a time when Disney said that it would like to make an offer for the whole company, and that's the point of time when Ronnie actually did the deal that that got Disney to acquire UTV. So very interesting period. We were making movies that really were pushing the envelope in terms of the kind of content that we were putting out there, which hadn't been done before. Just all credit to Ronnie for that period, because even more so at that time, the industry was a place where you were either born into it, or you really found it difficult to make a place in it, especially as a filmmaker, especially as a producer. And the fact that he was able to forge ahead and give us all that feeling of entrepreneurship in the business by backing directors and backing path-breaking ideas rather than just backing the big stars. That's really what made us, I think.
बट हम लोग ना एंटरप्रेन्योर्स और बिजनेस लीडर्स को ये पूछते हैं कि बंदे पे पैसा या धंधे पे पैसा. मैं आपके लिए क्वेश्चन ट्वीक किया हूँ कि आप डायरेक्टर या प्रोड्यूसर पे, डायरेक्टर पे पैसा या स्टोरी पे और फिल्म पे पैसा लगा रहे हो.
It's a tough question.
Yeah.
But I have to say it's the script.
है ना?
It has to start with the script. Because, you know, even the best director can't save a script that really doesn't have it in.
Yeah.
They can make the best of it, and they do if they're really good and skilled at what they do.
Yeah.
But if it's not on the paper, then it's very rarely on the screen. So I'd say if I had to take a choice, pick between the two, which, you know, one doesn't really have to, but if one had to, then you'd pick the.
Yeah. I mean, because what happens is also that runtimes become a very, very, very big point of discussion with creative folks on the post table.
If you're able to approach it not so much from the, like, I don't make it 2 hours 20 minutes, make it 2 hours 9 minutes, because that's really the point.
Yeah.
If you approach it from the creative process about, do we need this, do we not need this, it's hampering the storytelling or it's enhancing the storytelling, creative people will be much more open to that.
Yeah.
Because then it doesn't become about you're just trying to fit it into 2:10 to get one more show at the multiplex. That doesn't hold water, because there are 3 hour 40-minute films which have performed spectacularly well.
Correct.
And there are 1 hour 50-minute films that have flopped, terribly.
Yeah.
So it's important to also realize that.
हाँ भाई, एक और चीज़ ये मेरे को बहुत ज़ोर से पूछना है आपसे, ये कि आप एक दिग्गज लेवल पे कॉर्पोरेट में हो and you're doing very, very well in your life, and then suddenly you decide to open your own firm. How much gall does it take to do that?
It takes gall,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
For me, it was really the most natural progression from where I was, because this is what I've always wanted to be doing. And I think the more I grew in Disney, the more I would go into levels where I would not be able to do this as much.
Yeah.
So I think I reached a point where when I was the MD of Disney for 3 years, and they were a wonderful 3 years, Dangal was going to be the last film in my tenure there. It just felt like the right time. And my next step would have been to maybe move to another geography and run another market. But that would take me further and further away from what I wanted to be doing, which is
India.
Creating content. Yeah. And so it just felt like the best natural progression. And I gave a runway of a year to the company for the like sort of handover period. So
what are you saying?
Yeah. I mean, my contract was going to end at the end of 2016, and I actually informed the management early that year that I was going to be moving on, so that everyone had enough time to plan.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's a notice of a year. I've never heard a notice period.
Because I definitely wanted to be there till the end of the year, and I had to contractually as well.
Yes.
And I knew Dangal was going to release at the end of the year, and I wanted to see that through, because that had
Correct.
been my baby from day one. And so, it just felt like the right time.
There is also this thing that you do where you don't work with family because you don't want to curl up in bed together because it did perform well. Like,
Exactly.
can you expand on that? Because Vidya is a great, actor, performer to bet on. So is Kunal or your brother. So then Aditya, basically, they have a huge fan following of their own.
Yeah.
So then, how did you make that tough choice?
It sort of happened because all of us feel the same way. We all want to carve our own niche and take our own path. And
did you all have like a discussion about this?
I wouldn't say it was like a let's sit down and have a roundtable conference about it, but it was definitely we have discussed it. It's just that it's very hard to put aside your familial relationships and adopt a producer-actor or producer-actress or producer-director relationship with family. At least for us it is.
Yeah.
And at no point of time do we want our relationship to be jeopardized by something that's happening on the professional front. It's just not worth it at all.
100%.
Right?
There's another question that I had, because Disney is such a massive, massive organization with such a strong pedigree and such world values. Like everybody knows about them. How is it to report to global management and discuss things with them, and how easy or difficult is that?
At times the cultural context can get a little difficult for them to fully understand. But probably because these are managers who are working across so many different markets, they have an inherent understanding that, this is stuff that I'm not going to get.
Okay.
But that's why we've hired you, so run with it.
Oh, nice.
But there'll be times when they just don't get the cultural context.
They don't.
And then you have to take your time to explain it to them. So it's not the easiest thing to do. But in a company like Disney, it's easier because it's such a international organization.
Yeah.
That the managers are trained in that.
When you're producing or putting your money behind something, are you also looking at ancillary things that it's going to create?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think even more so today, where theatrical has become such a tricky market.
Yeah.
And you're always looking for something where you can build franchises, where you can actually build value beyond just the theatrical performance of a film.
Yeah.
Because today people want to engage with a piece of content in different ways. When you look at gaming, and the fact that games are now being made into premium quality shows, and you're going to have that much more interaction and immersion in content in the future, you have to look for that.
I think Roy Kapur Films ka one of the favorite things that you've made is Aranyak. For me, Aranyak would be a great game show.
It actually would. You're right.
It's
like an interactive game. Yeah.
Because you're the right person to ask this question. There's also a lot of marketing that happens which is at around the Oscars or around all the festivals that we have. Like, there's a whole set of companies that do it also, right?
Yeah.
How big or small is that contribution to the award?
So at the Academy Awards in LA, you've got publicity companies that actually specialize in Academy Award campaigns.
That's what.
But finally, it boils down to getting as many people as possible to watch your film as possible. It's as transparent or as opaque as that.
Okay.
And then they've got to vote for you. Now, can there be angles there where there is some unjustified lobbying that happens, etc.? Sure, but that can happen anywhere.
Yeah.
But I found that process to be pretty transparent in that the more people watch your film and if they like it, they'll vote for it.
Oh, nice.
Which I think is a good way for things to be.
100%. I think that's a fair kind of way of putting it also.
Yeah. And, you have to make your peace with the fact that it doesn't happen for you one year and not be bitter about it.
Yeah. But थोड़ा sad तो लगते होगा क्योंकि चलो शो काफी ऐसा लग रहा था कि
of course. I mean, we made it to the top 15, which was wonderful, and the team was so thrilled. And then, of course, you want to get to the top 5. But we satisfy ourselves by knowing that this was a very, very competitive year.
Yeah.
And All Quiet on the Western Front.
Such a crazy good set of cinema.
Great movies. There were a lot of other very high-profile snubs as well.
Yeah.
So fine, we're in there with that lot.
Fair enough. So when you were building Roy Kapur Films, I just want to understand what mind goes behind, how, I'm sure because you must be deeply involved in the office space in general. So what was the idea behind creating the spaces? Because I would like to tell them that इनके पास ऐसी posters की actually hand painted posters हैं आपके पास real जो लगे होंगे उस time पे उस साल.
Yeah.
So what is the thought process?
So that's my one guilty pleasure.
I
think I enjoy collecting film memorabilia.
So you go to Chor Bazaar and you go to...
Yeah, I mean, whenever I hear that there's an auction of film posters or there's going to be that there's a collection available, I'm in there and trying to get my hands on them because I grew up in the 70s, right? And in the late 70s, you had these massive, gorgeous hoardings of multi-starrers with Bachchan and Shatrughan Sinha and Vinod Khanna and Shashi Kapoor and Rishi Kapoor and, these... Stalwarts and these villains like Pran and Prem Chopra and Jeevan.
And Amrish Puri came through our time.
And then you had these gorgeous actresses all up there in, these wonderful hand-painted posters.
It's your Rita Hayworth moment,
It really is,
yeah.
So, for me, that just evokes a time in my life when I was just so awe-inspired and mesmerized by cinema and used to literally drag whichever family member was available to Minerva or to Apsara or to Eros or to Sterling or to Regal or to New Excelsior for the latest film.
Nice.
So it's just exciting to have that around you. It's inspiring to have that around you.
And then you created the whole non-painted, the cement wall and cement flooring kind of effect also.
So credit to our interior designer. His name is Ehsan Ansari.
Oh, wow.
Give him a shout out. He's wonderful. He's worked with me for a long time on different things.
Oh, nice.
And so he was my collaborator on that.
Yeah. And then you've got these small as writer rooms or brainstorming rooms also, na? Unke baare mein batao.
Yeah, just kept it small. These little pods where you've got writers, where you've got our own sort of development executives.
वो लोग सिर्फ पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं.
They're reading that we get a lot of submissions every week,
हाँ.
both on our sort of official website and all our other social media
Oh wow,
platforms.
so bound scripts are coming in.
Scripts are coming in all the time. There's stuff that's coming in through people we know and from people we don't. They all have to be read and gone through.
देखिए इनको अगर बॉम्बे जर्नी पे पाना चाहते हैं आप लोग तो हमें 500 कमेंट दे दीजिए, हम इनको बॉम्बे जर्नी पे ले आएंगे.
I think I'll avoid that. I'm fighting the battle of the bulge.
No.
All the time.
I'll make some healthy stuff and get it for you.
हाँ, okay,
हाँ, वो try कर लेंगे.
Which I don't like very much, but fine.
Yeah, we can get your wife on also. She's more of the foodie kinds like me, I think.
I think I'm much more a foodie than she is.
What are you saying?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
But she's killing it on social media. Are you seeing her Instagram reels?
Of course I am.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are you proud of that evolution?
Very much so. I think she's not doing a film right now, right? So all her acting badass is being...
ऐसा होता है क्या कि you have a cut-off time for when you'll stop working at home and when you'll not take work home?
Not really. I think if you enjoy what you do, then your work and your life can merge and integrate in ways that you don't need to segregate them from each other.
Correct.
You know? And in what we do, it's so important to have that flexibility. There'll be some days where there isn't that much that's happening, and then you can do whatever you want. It's not like you have to be sitting at your desk.
Yeah.
But there's some days that are just going to be crazy and go late into the night and early the next morning.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is.
Which is perfect. I mean.
Yeah. So I've never really understood that work-life balance thing where it shouldn't be that your work is not part of your life and your life is not part of your work. They're the same thing.
Yeah. I think that's a very creative person or like an industry or a art thing. A lot of people don't understand that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are in jobs that are jobs which are means to an end, which is
Correct.
to provide.
Yeah.
And then they're not really jobs that someone might enjoy as much. And it's not like I haven't been there. I've been in situations like that in my own life. Yeah. Where there are times when I've not been enjoying what I'm doing. And it's a chore.
Yeah.
So I can understand that. But I think it's beholden on ourselves to find that thing that excites us and then pursue it.
Correct.
Easier said than done, but
100%.
it's important.
अभी किधर सीधा ना?
Siddha.
पहुंच गए ना अपन?
Yeah.
कैसा लगा आपको?
Great fun, yeah.
मजा आया ना?
Really fun.
Thank you for being on
Thank you.
Mashable Mornings.
Had a super
Lovely
time.
having you. Yes.